Hi, and welcome to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, whole food, plant-based culinary coach, and master herbalist. And I'm here with my partner, Dan, an exercise specialist and wonderful master herbalist. Together, we'll dive into the world of natural healing, bringing you a wealth of knowledge and practical advice. We draw from both traditional wisdom and modern science with herbs and foods to help you achieve optimal health. And this week, we're going to be talking about diets, specifically plants, because what sparked this is so many people say, what are the best foods to eat for dot, dot, dot? What are the best foods to eat for heart disease? What are the best foods to eat for gut health? What are the best foods to eat for inflammation? And we're like a broken record. It's plants. It's plants. So today we're talking about a whole food plant-based diet. It is the most powerful way to protect your heart, reduce inflammation, and support the health of your microbiome. That could be your oral microbiome, that can be your gut microbiome, all of it. So let's start with heart disease. So heart disease is the leading cause of death worldwide. It is also Dan's specialty. Studies repeatedly show that diets rich in plant-based foods can dramatically lower the risk of heart disease. Because plant-based foods are naturally cholesterol-free, there's no cholesterol in plants. Cholesterol is only in our animal products. It is low in saturated fats. We have some saturated fats in some of our tropical nuts and seeds, and packed with heart-healthy fiber and antioxidants and phytonutrients. So, Dan, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Yeah, this is a topic that really starting to get on my nerves lately because there's so many. Let's say the internet space is really overrun, and we're going to talk about heart health, and you're seeing all these people now, they're pushing carnivore, telling people
Yeah.
that it's healthy to live on red meat and cheese and chicken. That's all you ever eat. Look, this is a one-way ticket to heart disease, cancer, you name it. I'm telling you, this is it's not good. It's a really bad It's a bad road to go down. What me and Jennifer teach, the stuff that we're teaching, this actually has science behind it. It's been proven to work. There are actual even medical doctors using these diets to help people heal from heart disease, not just heart disease, but Esselstyn's had people that they have like their arteries already uh, stopped up with plaque. And in some cases, this plaque starts to regress. Some cases it doesn't regress, but the way it works is sometimes the plaque will regress. But when you eat this way long enough, the old plaques are become benign. They no longer are a threat to break off anymore. The way he explained it is when you eat this way, the inflammation in your arteries starts to go down. So these plaques are stabilized. Your body actually stabilizes them. It kind of forms a scab over them, and so they can no longer break off and kill you. He said the plaques actually kill you are what he calls juvenile plaques. Juvenile plaques are 6 months old or about 6 months to a year old. And what creates juvenile plaques? Your diet. So if you're eating a diet that is full of meat, dairy, all these things, you're creating juvenile plaques. And these are the ones that can break off and give you a heart attack or a stroke. And sometimes these things will kill you. Other times they will just cripple you. I've seen people that have had strokes. They're crippled. I've seen people with heart attacks, and I mean, they can't do anything anymore because their heart is so weakened from the heart attack. It's hard for them to walk from their house to the mailbox and back. Is it worth eating these foods? Is being handicapped worth it? The people that eat this way, the gold standard diet we're talking about, the whole food plant based, their risk of a heart attack goes down so drastically. The last study Esselstyn did, the patients he used, they had a 99% reduced reduction of having a second heart attack. There's nothing else on the planet that works as good as a plant-based diet. You can take all the pills you want to, but they're not going to save you from a bad diet. Pills cannot cure a dietary disease.
Amen.
And
Yes.
they should quit telling you that they can. I mean,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yes. Yes. Well, and there's so much information coming out from the blue zones right
Right.
now too about how little animal products they eat. They eat. How do they eat? Whole food, plant-based. Occasionally a little meat. Meat is more like a condiment. It's not a
Yeah.
main meal. Where here, I don't know about you, but the way I grew up, it was, sausage or bacon for breakfast. It was a sandwich with some sort of deli meat or something like that for lunch. And then dinner always centered around meat, hamburgers, steak, chicken fried steak,
And like you're
chicken.
saying, the
Mhm.
proportion of meat here is a 1 pound or a 2 pound steak. I mean, that is just absurd.
Right.
Absurd.
Yes. Well, how many restaurants have, that the steakhouses now, you eat this giant piece of meat, right? And you get it for free or whatever. And so people go and do it or try it and they eat
Yeah.
tremendous amounts of meat. That's disgusting.
Yeah. And you get your
Yeah.
plaque on the wall if you win. Like, okay, good for you. You're also getting plaque in your heart.
That's
So,
what I was gonna say. It's not just on the wall.
yeah.
Right, right, right. So we have to look at traditionally what's going on. So those same blue zones, if you're not familiar with the blue zones, just Google it. These are areas around the world with the longest living populations, and they also show the lowest rates of heart disease than most other places around the world as well. And whole food plant-based are also full of, well, fiber. Like you said, plants don't have any cholesterol and they're the only thing that has fiber. So meat, you may be chewing some gristle or some meat that gets stuck in your teeth and think that's fiber. That is not fiber. Fiber is only in plants, and that binds to excess cholesterol and helps carry it out of the body. And so whole food plant-based is definitely not trendy. It's a new term. I know I didn't know what whole food plant-based meant for a while there, but it's just eating plants. All we do is eat plants. We don't eat dairy. We don't eat animal products. A lot of people call it vegan. I don't like to use that word. It's a very controversial word. And as an herbalist, I do use things like honey. I have bees on my farm, and so I'm sorry if that hurts those of you who are vegan. I do believe in the medicinal qualities of things like honey. And then cordyceps as well. Cordyceps mushrooms, it relies on insects. So is that vegan or not? I don't care. I'm an herbalist and I like cordyceps. And so we use that in some of our things. So got off on a tangent there. But the plants are just so wonderful for the heart as far as boosting all of our nutrients. You think of plants, those rainbow colors. The heart, when we think of the heart is red. We want to go towards our red foods. Thinking about beets, thinking about pomegranates, tart cherries, these wonderful red, bright, vibrant colors have these chemicals, specifically anthocyanins, which help to open up blood vessels, help with circulation, help with the brain and the heart. But they are also full of compounds that help to produce nitric oxide in the body, which expands those blood vessels for increased blood flow as well. And so wonderful when we talk about plants and the heart. And so we talked about how meat and cheese, those create inflammation and create those plaques. But if we switch to the plants, those are so wonderful because of the wonderful things that they do for the body, full of antioxidants, vitamins, and vitamin C and things like that we really need. So let's switch to inflammation since that's kind of where I am and talk a little bit about inflammation. Inflammation is all throughout the body. We think about, well, most diseases, I can't think of one that doesn't include inflammation, arthritis, inflammation in your joints, diabetes, inflammation in the body, autoimmune diseases, inflammation, causing pain, rashes, itches, all those different things, and cancers. They're all related to inflammation. And whole food plant-based diets help with that. They're very anti-inflammatory. Number one, they reduce or eliminate inflammatory foods like meat and dairy that we talked about. But also when we eat whole food, plant-based, whole foods means we're not eating processed foods. And so we're not eating breads. So people say, well, my sourdough bread is so good for me. It's sourdough. Let's talk about that for a minute. Dan, what are your thoughts on sourdough bread?
Well, sourdough bread, it might have some probiotics, maybe, but the cooking process is going to kill a lot of those probiotics. Also, it's made from gluten, and for a lot of people, gluten is going to cause inflammation. In fact, I've seen studies where gluten causes inflammation in pretty much everyone now, and
Yes,
so that's so inflammation is going to cause, like Jennifer, you were just saying, it's a factor in pretty much every disease you can think of now. So we
yes,
want to watch the gluten. I don't tell people from the beginning to drop gluten because, I work in baby steps with people now because I used to run people off, but they'll usually find that they'll feel better once they get off the wheat too, eventually.
yeah,
And do
yeah.
you think, I mean, really, do you think sourdough bread have any kind of probiotic after it's been cooked? I doubt it.
I doubt it too. The beneficial effects of those probiotics are definitely not going to be productive compared to the inflammatory effects of the rest of the sourdough bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
if you look at Alessio Fasano, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, Harvard professor, his studies show that gluten creates inflammation in everybody. And someone will say, well, what if I make a sourdough gluten-free bread? Well, gluten-free breads are made from processed rice, potatoes, and tapioca, extremely processed. Think about what a grain of rice looks like and rice flour. There's, no comparison there. It's highly processed foods, highly inflammatory, blood sugar spiking. And so even if it's sourdough, it's just not worth it. That's creating inflammation in the body. And so if you already are inflamed, you have arthritis, you have some sort of chronic disease, autoimmune disease, diabetes, blood sugar imbalance. Maybe it's not even diabetes, metabolic syndrome, which 93% of Americans are metabolically unwell. Google it. 93% of Americans are metabolically unwell. So that means every 93% are inflamed, right? And so we don't need to be adding these things to our body. We don't need to be adding things that are going to add to the inflammation. We need to focus on cooling that inflammation. And how do we cool that inflammation? Brightly colored whole food plants. When I'm thinking about inflammation, I'm specifically thinking about things like our omega-3 fatty acids, but also those brightly colored foods. And omega-3s come in your walnuts, they come in chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds. Maybe you want to use some algae, chlorella, spirulina, some of those. I didn't give a medical disclaimer today, but remember, this is not medical advice. This is Dan and I talking, sharing our experience, our information, our education with you. Do your own due diligence. Look at the studies we're mentioning and make sure that what we're talking about makes sense to you. But if I'm cooling inflammation, I'm thinking about brightly colored berries, blackberries, blueberries. These are wonderful. And yes, there are fruit. It's okay to eat fruit. You need to eat fruit that is right for you by checking your blood sugar. Getting your doctor to check your insulin. Doctors do not check insulin. You have to ask them to check the insulin or find a coach that can help you get your insulin checked. But you need to get your insulin checked. People think that if I eat my cheese, I eat my meat, I'm keeping my blood sugar down. Maybe, but it's not keeping your insulin down. Cheese increases insulin. And so you're being fooled. You're thinking my blood sugar is not going up and don't realize that you're creating insulin resistance because that insulin is going up and causing damage on those cells. And so that's another reason why we are strongly opposed to carnivore. You may be feeling better when you start eating carnivore. Maybe there's some irritation in there that the fibers are creating. We're all unique. Raw foods are right for some, steamed foods are right for some. However, in the long run, you're creating more and more inflammation, more and more damage. So you're feeling good today, but creating disaster down the road. Whereas if you eat a whole food plant-based diet appropriately, you're going to create healing and repair in the body. I didn't mean to go on that tangent, Dan. I'll let you add.
So I'm glad you said that about the carnivore diet because everybody says, I'm a diabetic, I'm gonna go carnivore and fix my blood sugar. But what they don't realize is going carnivore is one of the best ways to cause insulin resistance in the body. And that's where the real
Yes.
damage starts.
Yes.
The only way to get reverse insulin resistance is to go to your plant-based diet. This has been proven by science. I'm not just pulling it out of my butt here. All this has been proven. Okay. Your
Yes.
carnivore people, ask them for their science. It's not there. It's marketing. Okay.
Right.
And you were saying inflammation. Another thing that the carnivore diet does, there's a doctor doing research. He was taking colon samples or fecal samples from carnivore people, and the bacteria in the stool was all this bad bacteria. Because
Yeah.
you're not feeding the gut anymore, the bad bacteria actually thrive when you're not eating fiber, which is going to inflame you. It's going to inflame you, and it can increase your risk of developing colon cancer. I saw another study where they compared a heavy meat diet with a plant-based diet. The plant-based diet actually cut off the genes for colon cancer. The heavy meat diet turned on the genes for colon cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is why we teach this stuff. We're not the most popular health coaches because the plant-based diet is not that popular, but we teach it because we want our clients to get better. Imagine that.
Yes,
You know?
yes, without pills, without having to
Yeah.
take the pills. Yes,
Yes.
yes, which also talking about the microbiome. So when you are eating carnivore, and these studies show, not only is it more pathogenic bacteria in the microbiome, the bacteria in our gut, in our microbiome, we are more of them. There's more of them than there is us
Mhm.
as far as cells go. They feed on these fibers. They have to have these specific fibers. And if they don't get them, then they feed on you. They feed on that mucosal lining of your gut, and they start eating through your gut, which is what creates leaky gut, one of the other things that leads to leaky gut. So if I'm not eating all of the healthy fibers that I need, then I'm creating inflammation in the gut, and then that can actually break through, and then that's what leads to allergies, asthma, autoimmune disease, and cancer. And so we have to have all these different fibers, and they need to come from a diverse amount of food. So I can't just eat the workout, the strength training, what is it? Diet, if I'm a bodybuilding diet, I can't
Oh,
eat
yeah,
the
yeah.
bodybuilding diet where, I mean, yes, sweet potatoes and broccoli, they're wonderful for you, absolutely wonderful for you. But if that's all I eat, then I'm missing some of these other nutrients that my microbiome needs to keep me strong and healthy and keep the inflammation down.
Yes, and the amazing thing, studies are showing that after just 48 hours of eating a plant-based diet, your gut starts to get healthier.
Yes.
48 hours.
Yes, and I've seen that in my groups, in my resets. Yes, clients day 3, some people are feeling blah, and day 4 they feel amazing. Some people are feeling amazing on day 3, but by day 4 everybody's feeling good. And that's coming off of animal products, that's coming off of sugar, that's coming off of gluten. The body is amazing. The
Oh yeah.
body is amazing, and you switch, and those beneficial microbes that love you and want to care for you and want to give you those vitamins that are created in there, they flourish. And so we have to give them a wide variety, rainbow foods, making sure your meals have all the different colors. It's going to look appealing to you. It makes it look delicious. It also feels delicious to your body as well. Like, think about it. I mean, maybe there are people out there that think a slab of raw meat or ground beef was appetizing. I am not one of those people, and I used to be a huge meat eater. When I look at a plate of chopped rainbow foods, that looks delicious. That makes my mouth water. I want to eat that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, once you eat this way for so long, you crave fruits, you crave broccoli. I have broccoli almost every day. I like Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, berries, bananas. I even like my oatmeal. I crave these foods now. I used to be, oh boy, I used to eat whatever. I used to be a garbage disposal. I ate the sun at Taco Bell, all these things until I
Me
learned, until
too.
I got educated. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm killing myself. I don't want to kill
Yes.
myself anymore, you know?
Yes. Yes, I want to thrive. Yes, and so we're getting close to our time for today, but if you're concerned about protein on a whole food plant-based diet, all plants contain protein. We have other episodes on protein, so please look for those. Other things that people will say, it's eating plant-based is boring. Absolutely not. I know
Mm-mm.
for me, when I started eating this way, it was like all of a sudden my eyes were opened. I don't know about for you, Dan, but it's
Oh,
like
you
all
have
of a
to be
sudden,
yes.
yeah, and you
The
get more
creative.
creative in the
Oh,
kitchen.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yes, and we have more about that too. And so the biggest things that we can do are number one, start small. If you're not already eating whole food plant-based, pick one meal a day. You know, pick breakfast. Make your breakfast whole food plant-based. Make a chia pudding, make a tofu scramble. Um, what are some other things? I mean, you're probably already eating a plant-based breakfast.
Oh, you can make breakfast burritos, you can make breakfast beans. I mean, I like smoothies, which I know
Yeah.
with blood sugar, some people may not be able to do that. Um,
Yeah, you can make green smoothies.
yes,
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah, so just pick one meal a day and make it plant-based for a while and then increase to your next meal. Start just pay attention to what you're already eating. Where is the meat? Where is the cheese? Where can I start swapping things and gradually start swapping? Pinterest is loaded with recipes. I have recipes. You can go to my website, holisticgen.com, and flip through. I even have some ebooks on there. I have a cookbook as well. There's tips there. You can also look at our YouTubes. I am on at Holistic Jen and Dan is at Dan the Natural Man. And so we give you lots of tips and things there as well. And so I hope that you'll follow us. Please comment, share your thoughts on whole food plant-based versus pills. Tell us how you feel about this controversial topic. We love to hear from you, and please share our channel with your friends. Once again, you can find me at holisticgen.com. You can find Dan at danthenaturalman.com. So until next time, keep healing with plants and take care of your health.